A warm welcome to the show. Joining us tonight is Krzysztof Urbański, the artistic director of the Warsaw Philharmonic, one of the institution's youngest directors ever. Urbański brings with him a wealth of international experience, having worked with leading orchestras in Europe and the United States. In this conversation, we'll talk about his artistic vision, the challenges ahead, and what the Warsaw Philharmonic may look like under his keen and ambitious eye. Hello and welcome. Delighted to have you with us.
Entirely my pleasure.
So you're one of the Philharmonic's youngest directors ever. How does that feel and how has the job been so far?
Well, I remember when I became a music director of Indianapolis Symphony, and they also said that I'm America's youngest music director, but at that time I was 28. Now, at almost 44, I don't feel that young anymore.
So you probably will agree that Europe is a bit more conservative than the United States. How is it different working here than working across the ocean?
You might find many similarities, but of course, it's a different culture. I think in America, one of the challenges of every symphony orchestra is that there are only 17 full-time orchestras in a country that is almost 300 million population. Hence, where in Poland, there are far more, even though the population is 10 times smaller. So the accessibility to the higher culture, in my opinion, is just much greater.
So could you walk us through the decision-making process? How does it look like when you decide to include a given artist in the Philharmonic's program? What are the criteria?
Well, so for me, it is important that the offer that we present to our patrons, our audience, is as diverse as possible. So I want Philharmonic to be as open, as welcoming, but also artistically challenging. So I'm always trying to, me and the whole team that helps me with the programming, we are trying to present the music across the centuries. Starting, from the music of older times, like, even recently we played music from 15th century, so a piece of music that is 500 years old, and we coupled it with something that was written in 20th century. So we try to show diversity and the beauty of the classical music.
For some, classical music may seem inaccessible. So I was wondering, what efforts are the Philharmonic undertaking in order to perhaps make it more inclusive, to include broader audiences?
Yes, this is actually a really good question, because I think all of the cultural institutions all across the world are facing one very big challenge. All the institutions, we are constantly fighting a very uneven fight with television, with streaming services, with mass media, and it's not easy to get people come to theater, to museums, or to concert halls. And the easiest way to do it would be to lower the artistic content, and this is what unfortunately many institutions are doing. So there are just, in concert halls you can see pop music, theaters are playing stupid comedies, but that's not the way how to do it. I think the best way to keep perfect balance would be to keep a very high artistic content, but present it in a way that is accessible, that is fun, that is challenging, and hence, for instance, we came with an idea of organizing Thursday concerts, and these concerts, they're always we design them as a sort of introduction to the concert we are normally presenting in our subscription series. So first, they are shorter, they're with moderator, and there are some really cool things about it. Like, for instance, we have this speed dating after the concert, or sometimes we surprise our audience with flash mobs or things that they don't expect, and the reaction is really tremendous. And right now there is like a very big hype about our Thursday concert, which is great. This is what we want to do. We want to open Philharmonic, bring in people who would not necessarily, not necessarily our wonderful historic concert hall would be their destination. We want to show them what we do, and we want to keep them forever as our beloved audience.
I also noticed there's a strong educational component to what you're offering. I'm talking about the youngest music lovers, because you have special events for them as well, right?
Yes, the tradition of educational concerts is one of the foundations of the Philharmonic, and we have a wonderful team in our educational department. We are doing concerts, and we are organizing also some educational activities, not only outside the Philharmonic, but also in the whole Poland. So the Warsaw Philharmonic is really taking care of educating, the youngest generation of our future music lovers.
So do you think that the appreciation for classical music is something that can be taught, or is it a given? I'm talking about this nature versus nurture situation.
Yes. I think this is, the question is not only about music. I think this is a question about art in general. Of course, everyone has its own taste, but this kind of special sensitivity that is really required to appreciate and to understand fine art and, culture with capital C is something that really requires nurturing. So this is why the offer of the Warsaw Philharmonic and our educational programs, Thursday concerts, everything we do is also, something that we are really giving to society, helping create a future music lovers.
And looking at this year ahead, could you perhaps walk us through some of the most important events?
Yes, sure. We recently released my first recording with the Warsaw Philharmonic, which was Górecki Third Symphony, and this was another way of how I wanted to show this masterpiece to the broader audience, because traditionally, it's also always presented in a very traditional form. You have orchestra in the background and a solo soprano singing the solo part. But we did a visual event. We had several solists, 3 to be specific, each one especially chosen to emphasize, the particular part it has to sing in the symphony. And we did it in a very innovative way, and hence the reception of this concert was also tremendous. And right now, this the CD is really selling well, and this is one of the examples of our approach, how to open the Philharmonic and how to make it more welcoming. And yes, we have many great programs, and I specifically am looking forward to the upcoming concerts. Probably the one I really cannot wait to is the concert we'll have in the last days of May, which will be our season closing, where American pianist, my friend Gary Golson, who is also Frédéric Chopin competition winner from 1970, will be joining us, and we will perform Szymanowski Fourth Symphony, and after the break, one of my favorite classical pieces, The Rite of Spring by Igor Stravinsky.
Górecki and Szymanowski are two very well-known Polish names abroad. But what about some other Polish composers? Who do you think is worth introducing to foreign audiences?
For instance, just next month, I'm coming to Warsaw to present for the first time ever Mieczysław Weinberg Third Symphony. Mieczysław Weinberg was a Polish Jew who, after Second World War, moved to Soviet Russia, the rest of his life in Moscow. So one of the greatest, I think, Polish composers of 20th century, unknown for decades. And it's really incredible, because this is a symphony I already performed in United States and in other countries, but in Warsaw, at the Warsaw Philharmonic, it was never played yet. The symphony written in 1940 9. So there is a lot to discover, and there are really many great composers. One of my favorite being Wojciech Kilar, and I think, in my personal opinion, you didn't mention the greatest after Chopin, Polish composer, which is Witold Lutosławski.
You're a man who wears many hats. You're not only the artistic director here at the Philharmonic, but you're also a conductor and a composer. So which one of these roles is closest to your heart?
When I started my journey with classical music, at the beginning, when I was a teenager, I was always dreaming to be a composer. And I never fulfilled my dream. I just think I do not have enough talent to be a composer. Hence, I became conductor. But it still brings tremendous joy, and I love doing this.
But being a conductor is also very challenging. Is it more challenging than being an artistic director, or perhaps this is the hardest job that you've ever had?
Well, actually, right now at the Warsaw Philharmonic, this is the first time when I held position of artistic director, because previously I was a chief conductor in Norway with the Trondheim Symphony Orchestra. I was principal guest in Hamburg. I was principal guest in Tokyo. I was music director in Indianapolis in United States. So these were the different roles. In Warsaw, I'm artistic director, so I'm responsible for the whole artistic content and artistic vision of the institution. So I think I take it as much bigger responsibility. Also, the institution, with its broad palette of concerts and many subscriptions that we are offering, it's actually quite a lot to do, So it still brings me a lot of fun and joy, but it's a lot.
So let's talk about audiences a little bit, because you've worked all over the globe. So how does the Polish audience compare with foreign audiences?
Well, so first I need to tell you that I spent all my professional life outside Poland. So I graduated Frederick Chopin Academy of Music in Warsaw, and right after graduating, I won an international conducting competition in Prague, and my international career took off, and I started working with many orchestras. So I was absent on the Polish musical scene for 15 years. So to be honest, of course, I always held it in great esteem, but I did not know what to expect. And I have to tell you, it's really fine and very knowledgeable audience who is also spontaneous. So that is another reason why I feel so happy being at the Warsaw Philharmonic now.
And looking into the future, what would be the measure of the biggest success for you? What would you like to see happen at the Philharmonic during your tenure, of course?
The measure of success, I want to tell you, in some way, I think it's really unmeasurable, because we are very lucky that our concert hall is always full. It's really hard to get tickets, For instance, not only for Chopin competition, when people were waiting for hours, sometimes days, to get a single ticket to participate in, but also our subscription concerts are normally sold out, and this is wonderful. This brings, a great joy and pride to us, but also it's a great responsibility. So I think for me, it's some kind of, how to say it, joy. Sometimes when I do something that I know that was really good, I feel this pride, and it doesn't matter what people say, it doesn't matter what critics write. I know that I did something really artistically valuable, something that I'm proud of, and for me, this is the reason why I do music, just to make myself happy. This is why music was invented, to share emotions and to bring, joy and feelings into people's hearts.
By all means. So let's hope that this new year will bring you a lot of artistic fulfillment. Krzysztof Urbański, thank you so very much for joining us.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for watching Parts of Culture. Please stay tuned for more here on TVP World.